One of my interests in the world is the 4-year Ukraine war in Europe. I think we've had that for 4 years now, which is a very long time for a war. I think Russia invaded Ukraine illegally. It annexed Crimea, which is very significant and serious for world history as well, because you're not supposed to annex Crimea. Why are you not supposed to annex Crimea? Because it has a lot of world history attached to it. We've had the Crimean War. I think that was in 1800 or something. Sorry, 1850, 1880 or something. So we've had a Crimean War there that involved the British and Russia. Crimea is very important for the world. It's strategically quite important for the world. So I think you're not supposed to annex Crimea, and Russia seems to have annexed Crimea. So I think that is a bit ludicrous, especially when you look at world history. We have had the Crimean War, and if you look at that war, if you look at world history, it was a very serious war with a lot of contentions, with a lot of issues attached to it. I think it kind of changed the balance of powers in the world. So I think that's what Russia could have done in this situation by annexing Crimea. So I think Russia has done something very extraordinary by annexing Crimea. Crimea has never been annexed before, especially in such a ridiculous way, in such a stupid way. Russia simply said, Crimea is an interest for us, please. That belongs to us. And then it just annexed it. It didn't fight a war over Crimea. It just annexed it, even without discussion with America or maybe other people in the world. It did it in a very careless and irresponsible way, and I think that's the concern with the annexation of Crimea. It has changed the world. Why? Because Crimea is important for the world. It's something to do with its position and relationship with Europe and Russia. I think that's why it's important. It also has a lot of sea lanes to Russia as well, to the Mediterranean and the Black Sea as well. So I think Crimea is very important in the world. And not only have the Russians annexed Crimea, but I think they've also built a bridge from mainland Russia, South mainland Russia, into Crimea. So that shows Russian intentions with Crimea. It shows they want Crimea to be part of Russia. It's very serious about Crimea. It's kind of partitioned it to Russia. So that's an important consideration. But the other thing that Russia has done with Crimea is it's done a lot of population movement from Russia to Crimea. I think they've sent Crimean people to Russia and sent Russian people to Crimea. So that's a big step as well, and a big statement. So I think those are the two main issues around Crimea. I don't know if Crimea is likely to stay Russian. Probably not. I think the world is a little bit concerned with Russia's annexation of Crimea. It is a little bit concerned. So I think they are taking actions and initiatives to perhaps move Crimea back into a normal land situation that's perhaps not causing any contention with the Ukraine war and perhaps with Europe itself. So I think that Russia does need to take responsible for its illegal annexation of Crimea. And it is an illegal annexation of Crimea. That's what it is. It could involve the International Criminal Court or perhaps the European Parliament to perhaps find out why there's been an annexation here, because annexation, this is an annexation, and there's a bottomless answer to this annexation, and that's what's serious about it. So I think that Russia has done some annexation here, and I think Ukraine has suffered because of this annexation. I think that's what the issue is. Ukraine has suffered because of this annexation. It's been a prolonged war, a 4-year Eastern European war, a Balkans war like Bosnia. So it's almost half a decade of a war for no reason, for no reason at all. Why did Russia invade Ukraine? There's no reason and no explanation for that. There's no reason for that. Russia simply invaded Ukraine. Why? Because I think it's offended by the West. I think it's insulted by the West. Russia is going through some kind of isolation and deprivation. If you look at the Russian economy, it doesn't exist. It's being propped up by oligarchs and billionaire Russians. So I think that Russia is in a condition of isolation and deprivation. It's not able to meet its domestic demands. So it's kind of being very awkward and demanding from the world, and very aggressive. And that's why it's playing out that kind of aggression with Ukraine as well. So I don't know when this Ukraine war is likely to end. I think it's going to take probably another at least 2 years. At least another 2 years. So it could be a 6-year Ukraine war, and that seems to be concerning. It's a European war and an East European war. So I think that fact that Russia is at war with another country, perhaps with Europe itself, and maybe with American military aid and assistance, is very concerning. That's why it's been reduced to a pariah state, because I think the world knows that Russia is out of order here. It's behaving too aggressive for no reason at all. There's no cause for explanation. There's no cause. There's no reason for a problem here. Russia has not explained its problems. It's just conducting war. And I think that this is very serious and damaging for the world. So that's my position on the Ukraine war. Thank you.